Hey up everyone, Magpie Gaming here. I hope you're all doing well. In this video I'm going to go through a quick breakdown of a recent podcast that Nikita did. This was done with a Russian streamer and it's been translated into English. So I'm just going to go through the main bits of it that I think are relevant. Some of this is rinse and repeat though, because these podcasts do seem to be getting a lot more regular, and a lot of the things that are said in them is stuff that was said in previous ones. Sometimes there's little updates and sometimes there's no update whatsoever. They just go over the same old ground kind of thing. So I do apologise if some of it is repeated. I'm just trying to keep it up to date with the most relevant stuff. So in this podcast they spoke about the wipe for the game, which one, when will the next wipe be? And they've said that there'll definitely be a wipe with patch 0.13, which doesn't really come as a surprise to any of us. I don't think 0.13 is going to bring into it Streets of Tarkov, and they're also looking at linking maps into maps in 0.13. And what I mean by that is that labs will be accessible through other raids. Now, whether or not you'll be able to just buy a keycard and go into it, still I'm not sure, or whether you will need to enter one raid and then access labs, I'm not too sure. They're saying that labs will be accessible through Streets of Tarkov and through customs, so I'm guessing that if you want to jump straight to labs you'll have to pay for the keycard, but if you want to go in for free then you'd have to go into one of these two instances and then into labs. They've said that once you come out of labs you will then need to survive back out of the raid that you entered it in with, which, that's maybe the trade-off of paying for a keycard. If you want to go in free then you've got to do a little bit more survival, but if you want to just jump straight into labs then you pay for it. I think that sounds really good. I like the idea of that. It's going to make for really long raids though. I don't know how long raids will last. You're going to have 45 minutes, up to 45 minutes in one raid, and then you're going to go into labs and have another 45 minutes in there, and then come back out and have another 45 minutes. I don't know, that sounds like a long time, and it also sounds like a long time to get to the point of extract and get one tapped and lose all that gear and have wasted all that time. So be interested to see how that works out. Now, the date for 0.13 is absolutely anybody's guess. If you go at the frequency of which they're releasing patches at the moment, then you're looking towards the latter end of this year. I'm going to say it'd be around November, but I think they may even string it out towards Christmas time, maybe try and do another drops event around Christmas and New Year, get a lot of people interested again like they did last holiday season, but we'll have to wait and see on that one. They've also said that there might be a wipe with patch 12.9. Now obviously this is the patch straight before 0.13, so quite how they're going to work that out I don't know. People are not going to want to invest in a game if it's going to wipe again around a month to a month and a half later. They're not really going to bother with it too much. Obviously the streamers and the content creators such as myself will, because we want to keep the content coming and we want to stay up to date with the game, but the average casual gamer just probably isn't going to bother. So maybe if they can shorten down the period between these two patches, have 0.13 almost ready to go, put 12.9 out, maybe leave it a couple of weeks and then wipe again. Maybe between the two patches they might give us access to all the traders levels, give us loads of money and just let us go mad for a couple of weeks. I'm not sure. It'll be interesting to see how they work that out. They spoke about dynamic loot coming into the game. This was something that's been spoken about for quite a while and hasn't made it into the game yet, but what this basically means is at the moment you have set spawns for everything. Certain items will spawn in certain places. What dynamic loot will do is it will shake all of that up, so the key that you think spawns in this area all the time might spawn somewhere else. So instead of there being fixed places for LEDX spawns, they could be anywhere, which I think is a really good thing. It'll force people to explore different parts of the map. It'll stop people simply running to certain loot rooms. There might still be okay loot in there, but the chances of it being that LEDX or the graphics card that you keep going after will be a lot lower because it'll be spawning somewhere else. So that sounds like a good one to me. New weapons coming into the game. They said the UMP and the Vector are pretty much ready to go. Now we know the Vector is due, I think, with 12.8. I'm not 200% sure on that, but I think that's the patch it was due with. As for the UMP, I'm not sure what patch that is due with yet. They spoke about doing private test servers. They say that there are private test servers in the works. These will be invite only, so they'll invite a select number of people to game on it. It will be a test build of the game, so it might include new features or new maps that we haven't got to play yet. You can bet your bottom dollar that the streamers will get invited into this and they'll get all of, the good gaming on these servers. I don't think the average gamer is really going to get an invite, but I could be wrong. Average gamers might get invited in and asked for their opinion as well. Steam audio, they've they've said that the new module is ready to go, but it's still heavily CPU bound, so they don't want to release it into the game at the moment because obviously it would degrade performance. So that is ready to go, but until they can get the CPU usage down, they are not going to include it in the game. Now I do know that they're new to using Steam Audio, so it could take them a while to get to grips with it, but I think they'll get there eventually. They are looking at locking stash items so that you don't lose things. Now basically what they mean by this is certain quests ask you to hand in certain items, so you'll have rigs to hand in, you'll have backpacks to hand in. Now sometimes we like to store things in those, and there's been instances where players have handed things in and lost what was in them. Recently I had to do it with the Pilgrim backpack. Mine was full of keys, so I had to go into my stash, take all of the keys out to make sure that I didn't lose any of them. So that sounds like something that should have been in the game for a long time, and it sounds like a simple thing that will make people's lives easier, so that will be coming to the game at some point very soon. The weight system is under review. They are looking at bringing the first stage of stamina degradation in at 28 kilos. Now currently I think it stands at about 50 kilos, I think it is. They're looking at bringing that down to 28 kilos, which sounds drastic, but this will coincide with a rework of the skills. So we will slowly build our skills up, and even though the weight system might kick in at 28 kilos, as long as we've got our weight and strength and things like that, those skills leveled up, then it shouldn't really affect us too much. But yeah, 28 kilos does seem pretty low at the moment. The patch notes for 12.7 will be coming out next week. I will of course do a full video on them once they are out. They are preliminary patch notes. Usually when we get those, you're looking at a week to a week and a half to the patch dropping. Of course that patch is 12.7. It's going to have the customs expansion in, and it's going to have the new Scav boss Sanitar in on Shoreline, so that'll be an interesting one to see when those come out. And they're also looking at what is basically a Scav loot box. So basically when you come out with your Scav, you have to move all of your stuff instantly into your stash or you lose it. This way you'll get sort of a limbo area where you'll be able to move stash into a box. You'll be able to sell it direct to traders instead of it going into your stash, and it sounds like you'll also be able to hold it there for a certain amount of time. Now I don't know if there's a timer on it or whether you get to leave it there indefinitely, but it'll just help people that are juggling with their stashes at the moment and struggling a little bit with them. I know I am recently, especially with insurance returns. I just can't fit them in, and then if I do a Scav run, I'm struggling to fit all of that in as well. I'm having to leave rigs on the Scav and bags and things like that, things that I would like to take but I just don't have the room. And that was pretty much it for the podcast breakdown. I'm sure that there was lots more stuff in there, but it was, these things go on for quite a long time. The translations aren't always 100%, although they are very well done, I'll give them that. But yeah, that's basically the gist of it. So some good stuff. Like I say, some of it's rinse and repeat. We've heard about it all before. Some of that stuff is new though, so interesting to see what will be in the patch notes for 12.7. As I say, I will bring you a video for those as soon as we have them. So if you want to keep up to date with the latest update from Tarkov news, don't forget to subscribe down below. Press the bell so you're informed of my latest videos, and as always, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for watching and listening. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next one. Take care.